Okay, so most of this we already went, but the one that I didn't do is Aristotle. You know, again, we're not talking very much about intellectual virtues, but both in developing intellectual virtues and in developing moral virtues, Aristotle says we need to be using our reason, and so that's what he thinks is our chief characteristic as human beings. So we saw that for him the moral virtues are character traits. Look, I don't want to talk over you, okay? You know, just, they're character traits, and they're acquired like other skills by habit and by practice. That was why we had the piano player so much in that video. And sometimes they're acquired contrary to nature. In other words, if we're trying to develop courage, nature might say, don't go in there and confront your boss about a raise, give in to fear, or give in to your impulse to have another piece of pie, and don't be moderate. But we have to strive against them, is what we mean there. And so, again, for Aristotle, the whole process of developing a virtue is not something that happens in isolation from other people. He's not talking about developing virtues by going off into a lonely place and meditating. For him, we develop virtues in society, in our interactions with other people. So we don't become morally just in isolation from other people in society. And so his view is that, say you're trying to develop self-control, say in the areas of food and drink or something. What he's trying to say is you make choices that are in line with the virtue you want to develop in yourself. You know, you say, no, I'm not going to have another piece of pie here, or whatever it is. I mean, trivial example. But the point is, after a while, though, if you've developed a virtue of temperance, of self-control, then having developed that virtue, it becomes easier to act consistently with that. That is, to choose the moderate or the temperate course, and the same for other virtues. So again, as I said before, and remember, we've already gone over this. This is in the PowerPoint, but basically I'm reviewing the main points of the PowerPoint because what you see in this part of the review sheet, if you, as I pointed out before, is just the outline mode of the PowerPoint. But again, where Aristotle pushed the envelope was in portraying a virtue as the midpoint between two vices, one of excess, or deprivation, and the other of deprivation. So this model, this general model here, is where Aristotle pushes the envelope as a philosopher in this area. So again, some specific examples of the model. So temperance is the mean between asceticism, which is the denial of your body's basic needs for food and drink, versus, on the other side, self-indulgence, gluttony, alcoholism, whatever. And so temperance, which is also translated self-control, is the midpoint between them. And we saw that courage for him is not a total lack of fear, but it's feeling fear yet keeping it under control by using your reasoning abilities. So total fear, that is a deprivation of courage, would be cowardice. But foolhardiness is an excess there of it. Really. So courage, he says, is feeling fear but keeping it in control and walking the mean. So achieving the mean, again, we might have to go against our natural tendencies. And we said it's achieved by reason, and this is a controversial viewpoint, but Aristotle is in line with a lot of philosophers, ones before him like Plato and Socrates, and ones later like even Immanuel Kant, and there are other later philosophers who think that human reasoning abilities set us apart from every other living thing on the planet. So Aristotle gives us this model, and we'll see Aquinas duplicates it later on, where, hold on, these things are two, where he says, our chief end, what's unique to us as human beings, can't be just having biological functions, because plants and lower animals have those. And it can't be just having an emotional life and an awareness of our surroundings, that is sentience, because even though plants lose out on that, we share that with lower animals. But for Aristotle, what is unique to us is our reasoning abilities, the ability to understand abstract concepts, the ability to act on principle, following and to follow and make rational arguments for our beliefs. So, and again, Aristotle says then that we achieve the moral life by exercising reason. So again, if the chief function of a knife is to cut stuff, and a arete, the same word used for virtue, an excellent knife is a knife that cuts well. If our chief function is to exercise our reason, then human excellence is achieved by exercising our reason to develop moral and intellectual virtues. And here we're just concerned with moral virtues. So again, Aristotle says that happiness is the chief end of morality because it's sought only for its own sake, not for the sake of something else. And here, what he means by happiness is more or less kind of a feeling of well-being, that you're living, that life is good, you're living a well-adjusted life. It's not just the inner feeling of, wow, I feel happy today. He means more than that by it. So he's trying to convince us that it is living this life of moderation that for him is the moral life that will produce also for us the happiest, the most satisfying life for a human being. So the happiest life, again, the Greek word is eudaimonia, means more than just feelings of happiness, is for him this life of moderation, which is also the moral life. So as I said earlier, his answer to the question why be moral is it's a happiest life. So virtue is walking the moderate mean, the happiest life for him, the virtuous life. And so, again, what you see below just repeats some of the same points. Okay, well, I'll have to show you the video next time. We'll look at that Wednesday. So again, bringing it, as it says down here, look at the PowerPoints. Remember, you have handouts and your notes, but again, this is a closed book test, right? The purpose of this part of the test is to test you on the kinds of big concepts that I'd like you to carry away from the course in your head when the course is finished. Yeah,
The PowerPoint introduction to philosophy, we don't need to study that one, do we? Because we're just going to be focusing on these three main things from the test review sheet.
Oh, you mean that one that says the history of philosophy?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that one. Really, the main reason I had it there was to show you just a little bit about what the pre-Socratics thought, but I'm not going to give you questions on pre-Socratic philosophers, except when it comes to Plato synthesizing Parmenides and Heraclitus. But I don't even know if I have much of anything on that. Yeah, so the history of philosophy PowerPoint, I just wanted to show you those pie charts at the end, more or less.
Professor.
Okay, so we'll see you Monday.
I don't see the answer for this on Blackboard, for the Aristotle. Where do I find that?